First, you can volunteer to be a mentor to any of our founders that you see today by clicking the link that you'll see in the YouTube description below. The second, as mentioned, is that you can actually fund them directly. 100% of any tax-deductible donations that you make using the link below will go directly to the winners of today's competition. And third, your company can partner with us to host a pitch competition around an industry-relevant theme. Some examples of upcoming themes include fintech, sustainability tech, food tech, and aerospace. If interested, you can email us at info@techrise.co. Now, finally, please encourage any Chicago-based BIPOC or women non-binary founders you know with a good business idea, and they can apply at techrise.co/apply, or again, by clicking one of the links below. Now, I would love to introduce our judges today. First, we have Haley Kwait Zollo, partner at Starting Line Ventures, an early stage consumer focused fund based here in Chicago. Prior to getting onto the VC side of the table, Haley spent a majority of her career scaling retail startups, leading strategy, data and analytics, and business operations at Trunk Club and MacMaya. Next, we have Edgar Mendoza, investor at R41 Ventures. Edgar is a proud College of Lake County alum, and tearing down anything that is gatekeeper related gets him excited. He is a big believer that startups need to be global, that the LATAM has insane amounts of potential. As a passionate ecosystem builder, Edgar has invested in numerous Chicago companies such as 4 Degrees, Cameo, Sway Brand, Cash Drop, and more. Edgar enjoys boxing, tequila, and going to hot springs in his free time. And our final judge is Deldelp, Medina, executive director at Black and Brown Founders. Deldelp is a thinker, leader, and speaker, not necessarily in that order. She has worked on creating systems for equity in the startup ecosystem for the last 9 years. So thank you all, and welcome everyone for joining us today, and thank you for taking the time to be with us. I'd love to go ahead and introduce our first startup. Welcome our first founder, Oscar Guzman with Locatore.
Are we ready to go?
We are ready to go. Thanks, Oscar.
Hi, everyone. I'm Oscar from Locatore, a B2B real estate SaaS company. Real estate has a massive location data gap, hindering its $130 billion decision-making market. Location data is made up of multiple criteria scattered across a bunch of different sources, making it really difficult to use. It's also really important to note that this location data is what helps quantify real estate demand for a given area. This gap blinds decision makers from the full picture and leaves them susceptible to market demand fluctuations. I experienced this personally working at a real estate tech company who lost over $1 billion in a year through bad home purchases. This happened when their pricing algorithm broke down during the market fluctuations that were happening in early 2020 and 2021. We're creating leaps in the industry by closing the data gap and employing our demand sensing technology. Demand sensing is a cutting-edge technique for approximating market demand, which is how we're able to create a current pulse on the market opportunity, pinpoint locations for our clients' real estate needs, and personalize the market insights that they receive. Our solution creates a clear advantage in the market because decision makers are able to get to opportunities more quickly. Before Locatore, these decision makers would have to review dozens of land parcel reports, dozens of property reports that are all dozens of pages long. These reports contain hundreds of data variables, redundant visualizations, and the data is often inaccurate and outdated. With Locatore, These decision makers receive pinpointed locations across the country for their real estate goals, along with only relevant data to compare and analyze. And now they can more confidently zero in on a much narrower optimized set of properties or land parcels. Our go-to-market strategy is to be the insights partner of associations of realtors. These associations have ample need for market insights for both internal and external use cases. They serve a diverse group of realtors and brokers on both the commercial and residential side. And I'm proud to say that we actually just became the insights partner to one of the largest associations of realtors in Illinois, having over 4,000 members. Diving into this space has showed us just how severely underserved these associations are. Unlike our competitors, we satisfy the internal and external analytics needs through our platform. We can do so at about half the cost for customized reports, and we provide ongoing education so that members get the best value from the insights. We started this business in early 2021, building out our database and algorithms through a series of small projects. We're here today in hopes of winning the $25,000 to continue our product roadmap. And all of this is in response to the early indicators of success and traction we've seen, as we're expecting 5 times revenue increase this year. Now, a bit in our product roadmap. Our initial product suite is what you would typically expect from a SaaS company. We have this awesome location data, and the methods that we use are really cutting edge, so we can provide our location scores, market reports, the trends and forecasts to visualize. But where we really differ is in our intent to bring that data to life through holographic displays for location and scenario planning. After all, what's the point of having one of the most advanced spatial data capabilities if we can't use it to fuel the further digitalization of real estate? We can say there's nothing out there like this in the market because of our unique blend of expertise and experience. Our analytical methods are grounded in only expert economic and statistics knowledge, and we blend that with the business acumen to create practical solutions. But more importantly, we're aligned on the vision and value of our solutions because we believe that when we've succeeded, we will have changed the face of real estate decision-making from one of confusion to confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Great job. Judges, if you could turn your video and audio on for Q&A.
Yeah, great job, Oscar. First question for me would just be to help understand the business model a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I was mentioning, in 2021, it's more of a sort of service consulting based type work that we were doing for individual developers, analytics clients. Now that we have more of our sort of automated data architecture and model, we're able to serve reports and analytics to customers on a monthly subscription basis. So we charge a small upfront configuration fee where we learn the types of reports they need, customize the reports a bit, and then provide them to the clients on an ongoing subscription basis.
I'm curious, what has your customer discovery told you about the potential to grow this business? Like what have been some of the insights that have allowed you to think through and build this out this way?
A lot of it early on has been literature research, right? To understand the clear demand drivers in real estate is something that's still really held only in academia, right? And so throughout that's where we knew what location data that we needed to aggregate for what insights, right? So we built the data pipelines and the automations to make sure that we're only sourcing the exact data that we need that quantifies demand drivers in a given area. So now when we have conversations, we're able to talk through, hey, what are the market insights that you need? What are the use cases you're trying to solve? Let's talk to some of your managing brokers in the association space. And let's hear specifically the problems they're hearing from people and the locations they're interested in. And then we sort of customize from there.
And so for me, like, has your business model changed at all with the past year where in terms of housing availability, people trying to buy homes, you hear all these things about cash offers, and if you don't have that, you're not able to, kind of be competitive. Has that changed your business model at all, or like any insights in regards to that?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, right? Because so much of this crazy pricing that's going on is because of a supply gap in housing, right? And that's because governments, developers, right? They don't have confidence that if they build in certain areas, right, they don't know whether it's going to be successful. all of our real estate is really condensed into our large markets, right? And instead of spreading out, we're just going up and up. So what we're able to do with our solutions is because we focus on not just the big cities, but thousands of cities across the US, we can find where that opportunity is, right? So we analyze all of the demand variables to then specify, okay, this parcel is perfect for this type of business. And now we can go and find the right developer who's going to go create opportunity in that space. And that's why we're really excited about it, because what we really have right now is a supply gap that's driving crazy prices. If people feel more confident in the developments that they're going to make and the investments that they're going to make, we'll be able to really start to chip away at that gap and actually create more real estate out there that is accessible to people of all income backgrounds.
Fantastic, Oscar. It looks like we still have about 50 seconds left. Any other last quick questions?
How big is your team? And let us know a little bit about your roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a team of 5 people now, and initially started at 2. My partner and I, the PhD economist. We sort of extended from there, needing extra statistics help, right? Because in order to compare data from one location to the other, all of these variables have different contexts. So we had to develop some really sophisticated statistical models in order to be able to compare. Let's say you're looking at median income. What does median income mean from Macomb, Mississippi to Los Angeles, right? And how do you directly compare and rank that? So we grew little by little, right? Adding our statistics advisor and teams there to help build. We wanted to obviously get more contacts in the market and build out our sales pipeline, which is how we added 2 larger real estate executives. And now we're trying to move further into the software space and building out the UI layer.
Thank you so much. Great job, Oscar. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and introduce and welcome Perry Johnson with Teendm to the stage. Judges, please turn off your video again, and good luck, Perry.
All right, thank you. First off, I want to say afternoon. And also, first, I want to start off by saying that I am teenagers, and during the pandemic, children school mate committed suicide, and they wanted to know what could be done just to keep it from happening again. What can you do to stop this from happening again? This is not a conversation that I was prepared to have with my kids, not a conversation that you're willing to have and prepared to have as a parent. But after that, maybe about a few weeks after that, I feel like, okay, what is it that I can contribute?
Perry, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. And also, that I figured Teendm would be my contribution. And secondly, my name is Perry Johnson, and CEO of Teendm, a social platform for teenagers. The problem is that I found out there isn't something out there positive for teens exclusively, even for my own children. It's like they go to the different sites and try to figure out how do they connect with others. And everything has all of this negative connotation and things as a parent that I really don't want them to be privy to. So I felt Teendm being a solution to kind of create a place where they can come and celebrate each other's success and connect through positive affirmation, just really to support each other and support each other's not only successes, but outlooks and attributes as teenagers, because we know it's the most awkward time of our lives. But in terms of market and sales, we're currently in talk with CPS schools, superintendents, and youth organizations to acquire clients, first and foremost. And we plan to kind of scale using advertising and all the things that's relative to teens, what they buy, what they eat, where they go, where they hang out, and those places where they really spend. And we know in this day and age that competition is fierce for the attention of that demographic. And I feel that the difference between Teendm and other platforms is that we focus purely on transparency. For example, there will be no DMs, inboxes, and I feel as a parent and for parents that they can find comfort in knowing that they trust us. Like that's at the forefront of everything, trust. And also just having that platform that you can look at and like, okay, my kids are not privy to those inbox, those secrets, those videos that you can slide through and feel like there's no trust. And with the other part of the platform, we're constantly working with the Attorney General now so that we can focus on those safety features to put on Teendm so that we don't have to worry about pedophiles and people trying to infiltrate that demographic. So with Traction, recently, we just redid our landing page. And that was kind of sketchy for a while through the pandemic, but we wanted to kind of have a little style to it that made it relevant to teens just kind of celebrating the fun that they have when they're together. And overall, if we win today, obviously we'll use it to build a bigger infrastructure and help with advertising and also add more people to the team that are outsourced, which is 29 Design. And that would be obviously helpful. And the other question people may ask, like, why me, why now? As I said, I'm a single parent. I've been a single parent for 7 years. And having teenagers, what better way to solve a problem that's always current? I see Teendm as a change agent for teenagers to help them focus on commonalities and support each other's differences. Also to realize that they're in it together. Lastly, in the words of Frederick Douglass, it's easy to build strong children than to repair broken men. So with Teendm, I figured out that the time is now, and the time is to help teenagers realize not only that they have potential, unlimited potential, but they have the ability to change the world through everything that we provide with them.
Thank you, Perry. Judges, if you'd like to come back on, turn your videos on, and we can start the Q&A.
Sure. So for me, like, I understand, like, in terms of like, you're like making sure like the right people are on the platform, but is it a social media app or is it like kind of a YouTube or content? I didn't really catch that in terms of like what is being, produced.
Social media is basically, it'll be the Facebook for teenagers.
And you want to find a place, I'm assuming, right, where you talk about kids, you're talking about education. Obviously, people need to grow. Like, there's so much like terrible things out there in life. So you want to make it where it's productive, right? I'm assuming, right? Where you're like, hey, kids are learning, people can socialize, just not for nothing. People have different experiences. And more importantly, they can share those kind of ideas and thoughts. Is that kind of what you're trying to build out?
Exactly.
Could you talk a little bit about your business model? Because I don't think I caught that quite right.
Well, the model is, I mean, I'm saying the model is on a platform. One of the things we talk about how they don't want to be on, other social platforms with the children. There is anything could be on as a parent that your kids can't come on. This actually them exclusively.
Perry, you were breaking up a little bit there. Do you want to try and answer that again? I don't think it came through.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the model is just to make sure that that 13 or 19 age gap of, for teenagers, that they find a platform that's exclusively for them. Because again, talking to our parents, my thing on the phone that I'm on air because can be to ages. So I want it to be something that's exclusively for them, and parents will understand that full transparency, and we don't have to worry about those inboxes, those DMs, and really focus on not only the transparency of it, but they can really have a positive connect with each other on a platform.
Perfect. Haley?
Yeah, I'd like to learn a little bit more about the relationship you're working on with the CPS schools. How do you imagine that partnership working? Are you thinking of using them as a distribution channel to the students, or would like to hear a little bit more about how those conversations are going.
Yeah, it's one talk with the superintendent and a few principals. The main thing, and actually before they actually went back to school and they were still doing remote learning, that's when the talks began. But now that they're back in school, it's like been the best part of connecting with them, with the CPS and myself. So now it's like, can we really do something like really good? Because now with the robberies, the carjackings, it's like, let's really create a conversation around what they're really going through, any social ills that they may not understand. You know, and we all know that teenagers talk to each other. And the best way for them to do it is to have an exclusive platform, but an exclusive pathway, so to speak, that they can obviously create those dialogues and be like, okay, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. This happened, and we'll talk about it. And things go talking to my teenage children like that. We need to actually talk and have the conversation. It's not about school, because a lot of the after school programs have kind of subsided since the pandemic, and just want to create something where a dialogue is back in play throughout the day. You know, when you get out of school, you can talk on Teendm. Through the weekends, you can talk. And also working with people like After School Matters, that all of these things that can continue throughout the day and as far as through the evening.
Thank you, Perry. Wonderful job. I would like to go ahead and welcome our next contestant. We have Javi with Beacon.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. Can you let me know when you see my screen?
You are all set. We can see it.
Beautiful. Hi, everyone. My name is Javi, and I'm one of the founders of Beacon. We're making it incredibly easy to find new friends while discovering the local social scene. During the 15 darkest months of the pandemic, I was stuck in a cramped 300 square foot apartment with just my roommate. He was the only person I saw for months on end. It was the loneliest period of my life, and sadly, my story is not unique. Over the last year and a half, a whopping 61% of young adults reported experiencing serious loneliness. That's 21.1 million young adults suffering from loneliness in the United States. Unfortunately, this loneliness epidemic is not leaving, and I'll tell you why. Traditionally, a graduating college student would leave their hyper-social school environment, move to a new city, and begin their new life as an adult, where they would start building new social circles and meeting new people. Now, COVID has pushed our society's work style to be remote first, meaning young adults are losing out on their largest social network after graduating, which is their coworkers. This is heavily contributing to loneliness in young adults, even as we exit the pandemic. And we're here to change this, change the negative effects COVID has plagued our young adults with. We're building a platform to help young adults fill this gap in their social networks by helping them make new friends through interest-based communities and events. We're beginning this journey by focusing on the Chicago and New York City nightlife space, considering my personal network as a promoter. With that said, we plan on tackling the party and music scene across the US, which has an annual SOM of $3.4 billion and an end target SAM of $153 billion. Over the last couple of months, we've built a community of over 2,000 interns and postgrads who are moving to New York City this summer. Through my network of promoters and event organizers, I have access to over 50,000 young adults and a plethora of weekly events to showcase. After conducting 108 user interviews, we released our personal event creation tool in February. Now, heading into the summer, we'll be growing our community in anticipation of our summer marketing campaign. Your Perfect Chicago Summer 2022 will be a lineup of events specifically curated to our audience to have the best summer of their lives. In terms of our competitors, they range from event creation tools to event discovery tools. Our biggest differentiation is that we truly understand how the loneliness epidemic is affecting young adults. This has informed our go-to-market strategy as well as our platform design. By the end of the summer, we're anticipating to acquire over 12,000 users and hitting 75,000 users by the end of the year, considering the average growth rate of our current community. With TechRise's funding support, my co-founder and I will be able to go full-time starting this June to ensure we successfully begin fighting the loneliness epidemic at the moment at which it begins, the summer where interns and postgrads move to a new city to start a new chapter of life. So why are we the best team to build this? Well, not only have we been best friends for over 6 years with complementary skill sets in product design, venture capital, nightclub promoting, and software engineering, but we are also personally experiencing this loneliness epidemic as recent graduates from Cornell University. Now, thinking into the future, our vision is to allow anyone to move to a new city where they know no one and integrate into the community seamlessly. We want everyone to fall in love with the city of their dreams without the fear of experiencing loneliness. Now, do you want to be part of our journey to bring happiness and social connection back to young adults and put an end to the loneliness epidemic that has plagued our entire generation?
Great job, Javi. I'd like to welcome the judges back to the stage, and we'll go ahead and start with Haley.
Yeah, great job. This resonates. I think a lot about my closest friends now today, like, you know, years later from my first jobs are still some of my best friends. And I've met a lot of post-grads that have certainly been feeling this way. So I totally see the vision. I guess I'm curious, markets with Chicago and New York make a ton of sense. How are you thinking on like the supply side, I guess? Are you actually partnering with these restaurants and nightlife clubs and thinking through a business model from that way? Or how are you thinking of structuring that?
Yeah, so from the supply side of events, I personally know several event organizers in Chicago, New York, and several of them have actually confirmed that they're going to partner with us for the summer to promote their events on our platform. So, you know, an event organizer like Project 91 that brings several DJs and hosts different festivals in, you know, cities like Chicago, New York, and Miami. They're going to work with us to help promote their events. And then from a business model perspective, we're targeting both ticket sales and ad space. So from a ticket sales perspective, I have, you know, sold several hundred to thousands of tickets for different events. And so I'm essentially automating myself by allowing people to buy tickets through our platform. And then from an ad space perspective, if I go to my slides, so in this event marketplace will allow, you know, different event organizers and promoters to actually pay us to promote their events on our platform. And because we are also a social platform, we will allow users to eventually share photos and videos with each other of the different events that they go to, and we'll be displaying them in the form of a feed. So if you think of Instagram, you know, you'll be able to kind of see all the videos and content that you've taken or your friends have taken and have shared with you. And then that'll also create additional ad space that'll you know, generate another revenue channel.
Thanks, Oscar. Deldelp.
Sorry, I was making a note here. I'm curious about what is your customer discovery has been telling you that has allowed you to build this out so far?
Yeah, so from a macro perspective, you know, I've done a lot of research on the data of how the pandemic has affected young adults. And so a lot of that really led to, you know, loneliness skyrocketing amongst young people who, especially after graduating, you know, they would be, you know, placed in a new city, and then they get introduced to their coworkers in person, and they have a social space where they can create new friendships. And a lot of those friendships, you know, exit and leave the actual co-working space. And then from a micro perspective, you know, I've conducted over 100 interviews with postgrads who have actually graduated college during the pandemic and have moved to a new city. And all of them are all resonating of this idea that, you know, they love remote life because they're able to work from wherever, but they don't like that they don't have this, you know, new network of friends that they're able to lean on and socialize with.
Thanks, Javi.
Yeah.
And Edgar.
Yeah, so for me, like it's cheesy to say, but I think your network is your net worth, right? The people you know in your community, the people you can socialize with, the people that can give you advice, can provide feedback. So like I'm big into going down and I love all that stuff, but how do you build off that on the networking side, on the business side, on the ability where, hey, you know, this person does this kind of, they have this kind of skill set, you have this kind of skill set, you might want to reach out for them for advice on something. Like how do you like kind of add, I guess, LinkedIn type stuff to what you're doing?
Yeah, so so right now we're able to kind of document everyone's entire social life. But if we get to a point where, you are, documenting everything that you do in terms of all of your hobbies and your interests, as well as your professional life on our social calendar, we're able to understand that, you not only like boxing, but you love going to networking events. And we'll be able to pair you with other individuals just like you who have those same interests and hobbies, and then be able to put an event or a community in front of both of you so that, you and that other person can meet in person, build that initial social connection. That'll be the foundation of, a beautiful friendship that's to blossom.
Awesome. Great job, Javi. Okay, so we will welcome last but certainly not least, Kyle Westbrook of NXGRAD.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. All right. Here we go. Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Westbrook, founder of NXGRAD, and thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit more about NXGRAD and what we believe will be the beginning of the end of income inequality, beginning first in our own backyard of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Income inequality is a global phenomenon that results in families increasingly struggling to meet their basic needs. What we know is that meaningful opportunities to post-secondary education remains the surest method for people to earn higher incomes and begin to build wealth. Unfortunately, across the nation, increasing numbers of low-income students and students of color are opting out of higher education. In fact, in Illinois, Black student enrollment in our state's colleges and universities has decreased by 25% from 2014 to 2019, and there's no reason to believe that that statistic hasn't gotten even worse since the onset of COVID-19. At the same time that students are opting out of attending colleges, colleges themselves are increasingly struggling to find, recruit, and admit new students, a situation that'll only get worse as we begin to see the effects of decreasing birth rates in the United States. These facts cry out for a new solution for students and for colleges, which is why I launched NXGRAD, to remove one of the most obvious barriers to college for students, an archaic and cumbersome admissions process, and at the same time allow colleges a way to actually find the students that they are interested in admitting rather than waiting for students to find them. Think of it as a Bumble for college admissions, where both sides, students and the colleges wishing to admit them, set their preferences and criteria and are matched. Using only their smartphones, students set their preferences in terms of the types of colleges they want to attend, and their preferences are linked electronically to their student records to create a profile of each student in a school district. For an annual subscription fee, colleges set their criteria and are invited to match with students that meet their criteria or are close. What's exciting about this moment is that colleges in the United States are spending an estimated $5 billion on marketing and recruiting students, and fully automated two-sided admissions platforms are virtually non-existent. Everyone from former Chicago Public Schools CEO Janice Jackson to college presidents are eager to see NXGRAD enter the market and disrupt the status quo. We've been able to bootstrap our way to an MVP that is currently under development and should be done in the next 60 days. NXGRAD will launch this fall with 1,000 students from school districts in Lake County, Illinois, with subsequent years building on what we learn in Lake County to expand to new areas of Illinois, including Chicago, then the Midwest, and growing towards the coast and eventually worldwide. Currently, there are several competitors, none of which are targeting mid-market colleges, mid-tier students, and are explicitly equity focused. NXGRAD will be the first fully automated application platform that, because of this fact, turns the admissions paradigm upside down by allowing our students to see themselves as the commodity rather than the way it is now, where the colleges are seen as the commodity. 27 years in education, from high school classroom to higher education and public policy, have helped me understand the needs of K-12 and higher education. In my most recent position, leading and building a nonprofit focused on equity in higher education gives me the understanding of the market, as well as what it takes to build something from nothing and lead a team towards success. With money from TechRise, we'll be able to provide marketing to and training for high school guidance counselors in Lake County as teachers and students arrive back to school this fall and take the first important step towards their future in the much greater goal of ending global income inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Great job. Judges, welcome back to the stage. Let's start with Edgar.
Yeah, maybe it's too early to tell, but do you think with your platform, people will be able to graduate sooner, right? A lot of times people spend too many years in college by changing majors or whatnot. Have you seen any indicators with the fact that like people get so integrated with these colleges at an earlier age that they're more focused on, you know, like I said, finishing them faster and finding a major that fits them better than going to college and then changing major like, you know, midway through?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the pieces of feedback that I got from a college, one of the presidents that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to 36 college presidents and admissions officers is exactly what you said is there's a niche that I don't think version 1 will be able to fill, but certainly versions 2 and 3 and beyond. There's a particular need here around helping students understand what advanced placement credits, what dual credit courses they might have taken in high school are transferable to different colleges, universities, as well as hoping to smooth out the transfer process that often costs students valuable time when they're transferring from their community college, like the College of Lake County, to a four-year university. And so version 1, I think, won't try to address that problem, but I think subsequent versions will begin to chip away at that challenge.
And Deldelp?
I'm curious, the UN just said that education should be a lifelong goal for people, that it isn't just a K through 12 or a K through college, that because technology is changing so quickly, people have to have constantly learning how to learn and to be able to adapt. What are you thinking about in terms of the work that you're doing around those sort of programs?
Yeah, so, my vision for this platform is twofold. First, to help students kind of make sure that we remove a really easy to address barrier. But then once they're in college, to also be using the platform to connect students with internships, connect them with their first job opportunities by inviting employers to understand which students are part of the platform, and then ultimately beginning to build models to connect them with postgraduate opportunities that may include a traditional college, but may not include a traditional college, may include more work-based learning opportunities and more kind of community-based work opportunities where students are and young people are still learning, but may not necessarily be leading to a traditional degree or a traditional credential.
And Haley?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious to understand how you're thinking of layering any of the financing options with schools who want to give scholarships or better figure out how to better match the right students to some of those benefits.
Yeah, so the federal government has been working for, the last 20 years to try to simplify the FAFSA process that students use to apply for financial aid. There is some hope that that will actually materialize in the next year or two. And once that is materialized, what will be critical is to connect using API scripts to the student's federal financial aid information so that what's presented to the college is, here's a complete picture of that student, which is both their academic records, their preferences in terms of where they want to go, but also here's their financial profile. And then on the student side, for the student to be able to see, given my financial profile, here are the colleges that are most accessible to me, and importantly, colleges that aren't going to require me to go into massive amounts of debt in order to achieve a degree. And so that can be mostly automated through API scripts. The real the last kick and the last hurdle is the simplified FAFSA process.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you to all of our founders today. It's now time to send our judges into the breakout room so they can make their decision. Now, while our judges are deliberating, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Tim Grace, the co-founder of DraftBit, a low-code platform for mobile app development, and co-founder and partner at LongJump. LongJump is a venture fund that Tim founded alongside 5 other seed stage founders to back Chicago's earliest launch phase companies. LongJump writes $100,000 checks to founders at the starting line, often with an idea that Chicago investing ecosystem has traditionally overlooked. Tim also runs marathons in his free time because he doesn't have enough going on already, it sounds like. Tim, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you for being with us today. So where I'd like to start, it's commonly believed that early stage companies, whether that's idea stage, pre-seed, that they need traction in order to create investor interest. Do you agree with this? And I guess why or why not?
Yeah, I think that the word traction is the really tricky part of that statement. I think it's either misused or ill-defined. Perhaps I think when applied to early stage companies, I think the perception is traction means some sort of revenue, user growth, some sort of tangible like metric, level of assessment of a company's progress. And I think that is what really makes it hard for early stage companies, because you can actually make a lot of progress, but not necessarily have those sort of metrics attached to that progress. So I think the way that at least we try to look at it is, are there, in the time that founder has had, with the resources that have been available to that founder, what progress have they been able to make? And then to be able to use that, sort of formula to determine, okay, like if this person then had more resources, if this person then had more time, let's say they were working on something part-time and, an investment of capital would help them go full-time, for example, or if, that capital would help them invest more in marketing or invest more in product development, et cetera, that like that additional investment would allow them to take what they've already demonstrated in terms of resourcefulness and hustle and progress and just accelerate that. And I think that is probably what I would hope most early stage investors are looking for in terms of traction, versus just like show me the 10K MRR and then we're off to the races, sort of approach, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It's helpful framing. So progress isn't necessarily synonymous with or exclusively defined by conventional forms of traction. It can be other forms of validation in those early stages. Before moving on, any quick examples of what traction or validation could be for an early stage company like that?
Yeah, I'll use a favorite example of mine, also from a company that was a winner of a TechRise competition. So I'll tie it all together here. There's a company called Stigma with the founder named Ariana Gibson, and when we decided to invest in her company from LongJump, she had no product. She was not a technologist. Her product is essentially an app that is intended to crowdsource hope. That's kind of how she pitches it. It's intended to create more healthy conversations around mental health, especially for young people. But what she did have, even though she didn't have the ability to build the app herself, she did have the ability to have those stories be told and recorded on camera, and to represent what the experience would be if those stories lived inside of her app. And so she literally went out and hosted in-person pop-ups to record and invited people to come who wanted to share their stories of mental health. She recorded those, and she was able to use those as evidence for how she was going to be able to weave all of that together into a successful product. And she's since done that. But I think her ability to show that resourcefulness and be able to demonstrate what Stigma would be, when she built it, was super compelling. And I think that's the kind of thing that founders can do to, kind of help people understand their vision.
Extremely helpful. Okay, thank you. So it's been a year since LongJump launched. What have you learned over that year, and how, if at all, have those insights changed how you invest?
I mean, beyond the fact that the 6 of us are doing this part-time as being full-time founders, and that is hard. But we knew that going in. It's probably been slightly harder than we anticipated. But I would say that, one thing is maybe just obvious to perhaps those of us here, but there's certainly no shortage of incredible founders and working on incredible businesses that are being overlooked in Chicago. Like our thesis was obviously that there was a huge amount of opportunity and that we could capture that opportunity. And like that has turned out to be true in multitudes over this first year. And that's a blessing and a curse. We love meeting, those founders, but yeah, we can't say yes to all of them. But I would say that like that's been super validating. I actually think one of the interesting things that we didn't totally expect that we've learned is our fund is comprised of about 190 investors in our fund who are like operators and other investors and founders in Chicago. And what I don't think we fully anticipated was how much those individuals wanted to really connect with our companies and with each other. And kind of build community and support, kind of across the entire LongJump ecosystem. And I don't think we did a great job in kind of fulfilling that level of connectedness that they were looking for in year one. And so I think that's something that we're hoping to do in year more. And as we move forward in the fund, is just like weave together like our investors' interest in being a part of our company's journey, and do that, with a little bit tighter, of a focus as we go forward.
That's particularly encouraging that there's an appetite for that type of engagement and connection. And now it's just kind of figuring out how to make that seamless. That's exciting to hear. How has it changed you as a founder, really focusing on, to the degree that you can, that side of the table and investing, having the kind of investor lens?
I mean, I think that it certainly is it's like a dual thing. Like one, it's very encouraging, right? You get fellowship, you get to talk to others, like love that part of it. At the same time, it's challenging, like sometimes you like run into like, people who are just, are on an incredibly awesome trajectory. And you're like, oh, I didn't, or make decisions or try things or, have successful experiments that you look at and you're like, oh, why didn't we do that? Like, why haven't we tried that? So I think I like that. I love being challenged, but it's definitely, part of the journey is to be able to learn, from people even who perhaps are earlier, in the journey than you are. Like, I think there's tremendous insight to come from that. So, but I'm biased. If there's one thing I love to do most in the world, maybe beyond running long distances, is like spending time with founders. And so like, I'm very privileged to be able to do that most of my day.
I am with you. So Chicago being the focus of the kind of investing thesis, what excites you specifically about backing Chicago founders? And I guess, what is the impact that you hope that has on the Chicago startup ecosystem?
I have such a mixed set of feelings about Chicago, and Chicago founders. Like, Chicago founders are awesome at doing a lot with a little, but they shouldn't have to do a lot with a little. And so like, I feel like that's a major conflict. And I think, part of the inspiration for us to, start the fund. And like, I ultimately feel like for LongJump to be successful, to truly fulfill, I think, the mission and reason for being that we have is to be a signal of hope, for Chicago's entrepreneurs. Like, think, for everybody out there who has ideas, but don't pursue them because they feel like the funding, equation is only available to other people, right? Not to them, to show founders that there are others who look like them with backgrounds like theirs, working on businesses that don't necessarily fit the mold, you know, that it's possible to do this in Chicago just by lifting up as many people as we can. And that like the founders here in Chicago, like we're here to give back, you know, like that we actually have that, you know, specific value. I think as founders in this community to like want to whatever success we have. And believe me, my partners, you know, in LongJump and myself, like we haven't figured it out. We're not winning yet, right? We're all still C-stage founders. Like none of us are, you know, like have, you know, figured out the entire, you know, puzzle of, you know, building a startup. But even at the stage we are, we want to start, you know, giving back. And I hope that like that ethos is something that like we can, and I believe that about Chicago founders, not just the 6 of us, but I think about the entire community. And I hope that maybe we can be a megaphone a little bit for, you know, that ethic that we have, you know, as an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'm assuming we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs watching us, and even selfishly, myself as an entrepreneur. If you could only give one piece of advice to early and idea stage founders on how to get investors excited about their companies, what would it be?
I mean, there's many, but I would say if there's one, like, really practice and hone your storytelling ability, especially at the early stage. For right or wrong, you know, like your ability to package a narrative that like really conveys like both the breadth of your vision, right? Like how big like you believe what you're working on can be, like when you go into the future and imagine all of these things have worked, you know, for your business. Like, what does that version of everything working look like? And get people excited about that kind of macro vision, but also be able to weave in the today, right? Like the kind of the micro level of like, hey, we're going to get here. Today, we've chosen to focus on this. And this is how we're doing this today to help us build our way to that bigger vision. So I think sometimes in founder storytelling, they either focus too much on, you know, the future, or I think oftentimes too much on today and like the mechanics of what's happening right now, which again, we want to know, but I think we also want to see like how you see the world and get us excited about that future. And so like really practicing and honing how you tell your story is probably the most important thing I can think of.
Very helpful. So overall, the kind of narrative, the storytelling ability, as well as an understanding of what kind of validation is required, and not just thinking in these kind of conventional ways of validation like revenue and number of users, but validation that shows effectively that you're onto something, and you know, investing capital into this opportunity is going to materialize in something effectively. Is that accurate?
That was an excellent restatement of our position. Thank you, Evan.
Oh, very helpful. Real quick, I know we're going to have to probably wrap this up in a moment here, but I appreciate LongJump's perspective, and you know, kind of thinking about the Chicago ecosystem. Do you feel that there are other early stage firms that are also having that kind of appreciation for these really early idea stage companies, and are starting to invest in these early stage companies more than maybe historically we've been known to do?
I think there's no doubt that it's more than it's been. Like I don't want to like declare victory, right? Like I don't think that we're at the point where we're like, hey, you know, problem solved, let's move on, you know. But I think with obviously what you guys are doing with TechRise, you know, with the group at Fifth Star Funds, with what I'm seeing in terms of the angel community, also, you know, seeming to congeal a little bit more around, you know, some of these opportunities where there's also like other founders that are raising small funds that are also focused on early stage. I know like Jason Weingarten's fund, Subconscious Ventures, and like a few other things are emerging that didn't exist, like you said, like 2 years ago even. And also I think some of the larger funds seem to be kind of following the macro trend outside of Chicago, which is larger funds, trying to look for earlier deal flow, which makes them more apt to write earlier stage checks than maybe they would, right? They're carving out certain aspects of the fund to write a 100K check or a 250K check or, whatever, when that may not necessarily have been their typical, MO. So I do think it's absolutely better, but we definitely still have a ways to go.
Well, I appreciate the impact that you're having on that situation and the insight that you provided all of us today. Thank you so much for making the time for us today, Tim. Now it is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Judges, will you please announce the winners?
Is it? Yeah. So this is Edgar. And so first and foremost, I appreciate everything 33 done, TechRise. It's been incredible. All the participants, you guys are all great. But without further ado, we are going with Beacon. And so we think Beacon has a ton of potential. I personally feel like there's a number of angels that would like to speak with you, Javier, and try to do some more stuff. But not to say that, Perry, personally, I love what you're doing. I would love to, I don't know if you're open to mentorship, stuff like that. I think that's incredible what you're accomplishing. And I think everyone's doing great things. And I think so not to be too long-winded, but Beacon, congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, so much. This is absolutely crazy. Thank you, TechRise, for giving us all the opportunity to do this. You guys are doing some impactful work, but also giving us the chance to exist. I'm so excited. I can't even put into words how excited I am. Thank you.
Congratulations, Javi. Fantastic job to everybody today. Thank you, judges, guest speakers, sponsors, everyone who's been with us. Please join us back here next week for the Green Tech themed competition, and the fundraising campaign for that prize starts tomorrow. So please consider making a gift to support those founders as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.